Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Holler. I hope you're doing very well today. I wanted to talk to you about your lesson for today's math class. Today, you have to complete page 611 and 612 in your book, and it's to check my progress. I am going to do a little review for you right now, with you right now, and then I'd like you to try to do the test on your own, the quiz on your own. If you need help with some of the words, you're more than welcome to ask an older brother and sister or whoever's watching you today or an adult. But we'd like you to try to do the check my progress on your own. Okay, there's a few things I want to talk to you about before we get started. And the first one is about vocabulary that we have talked about so far in the chapter. First of all, can you tell me what kind of clock this is that we're looking at right here? It's a clock that has an hour hand and a minute hand, and it has a face on it. If you said analog clock, you are correct. How about this clock that's up in the corner right here? This clock right here is called what kind of clock? Digital clock. Remember, we talked about in the previous lessons that the digital clock is something that we see more often than the analog clock, but it's important for us to still know both of them. Another question I have for you is how many minutes is in one whole hour? Can you tell me how many minutes are in one whole hour? So if I take this clock or my minute hand and I take it all the way around, how many minutes is that? If you said 60, you are correct. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. All right, so if I wanted to know how many were in a half of an hour, remember the other day we talked about the clock looking like a pizza. So if I cut that in half, if this is a whole pizza and the whole pizza is 60 minutes, 60 minutes in 1 hour, tell me how many is in a half of an hour when it's just half of the clock? It is 30 minutes. I hope you said that. So half of the clock is 30 minutes. One thing we haven't talked a whole bunch about, but I want to talk just a little bit about is this hand right here. We've talked a lot about this long green minute hand and the short orange hour hand, but this right here is the second hand. And every time that this goes around one time, the minute hand moves. So does anyone know how many seconds are in a minute? There are 60 seconds in a minute. So seconds are smaller than minutes. So when I think about it, I think seconds are little ants, little small ones. Okay, so there are 60 seconds in a minute. And then there are 30 minutes in a half of an hour. And there are 60 minutes in a whole hour. All right, we're going to do some practice over here to help us get ready for the Check My Progress. Could you tell me what time we have right here on number 1? This is the hour hand. Remember, the small one is the hour hand and the long one is the minute hand. If you said this one should say 11 o'clock, you are correct. Remember, anytime that the minute hand is pointing to the 12, it's o'clock. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, remember, we're looking first at the hour hand. The hour hand is between the 7 and the 8, but what hour are we in? We are in the 7 o'clock hour because we haven't got to the 8 yet. So we know that our hour is 7. And any time that the minute hand is pointing to the 6, that means it is 30. So our time for right now for number 2 is 7:30. 7:30. Number 3, see if you get it right. I'm going to write it here. It is 5 o'clock because the hour hand is pointing to the 5 and the minute hand is pointing to the 12. Number 4 is a little bit trickier. Remember, it's important to see which hand is which one. And so this hand is the shorter hand is the hour hand, and the longer hand is the minute hand. So this is pointing to the 6. The hour hand is pointing to the 6, and the minute hand is pointing to the 12. And remember, whenever it's at the 12, it's always o'clock, 6 o'clock. Now, for number 5, they want us to put the time in, and they want us to do it 3:30. Half past means that half of the pie is gone, half of the pizza is gone. So our minute hand is going to go to the 6, and our hour hand is in the 3, but we can't point it right to the 3. It's got to go in between the 3 and the 4. See how it goes in between the middle, because it's halfway from the 3 to the 4. This time on a clock would say 3:30. Half past 3 and 3:30 are the same. Here's our next one, number 6, 8 o'clock. So remember, we always know o'clock is going to have our minute hand pointing to the 12. And this is the only time when it is o'clock that the hour hand is pointing directly to the number. So this one should say 8 o'clock. Remember, we're going to write this one just like this, 8 o'clock. And these two little dots right here separate the hour from the minutes. Okay, they want us to tell what time this is. These are digital clocks. Number 7 says what? It says 2 o'clock. Good, I hope you said that one. Number 8, this digital time says what? And that is half past this number right here. So it's half past 10 o'clock. Half past 10. All right, let's take a look at some story practice, some story problem practice. We're going to take a look at this here. Let's read the first one. Miss Holler loves to watch SpongeBob SquarePants. Each show is 1 hour long. She watches 4 shows. The first show starts at 8 o'clock. What time does the 4th show end? Ooh, this is a tricky. Remember the other day when we were finding a pattern with story problems, we had to make sure that we would first underline or highlight what information we know. So we're going to underline what we know. I know that Miss Holler likes to watch SpongeBob SquarePants, that each show is 1 hour long, that she watches 4 shows, and that the first show starts at 8 o'clock. But then what time does the 4th show end? That's asking us the question. That's what we don't know. So what's in yellow is what we need to figure out. So if Miss Holler starts watching at 8 o'clock and she watches 4 shows. So here's Miss Holler's first show at 8 o'clock. And each one's an hour long. What time is going to be her second show? What time is that going to start? If you said 9 o'clock, you are correct. Then my third show that I'm going to watch is going to start at 10 o'clock. See how I'm going up an hour each time? Now my 4th show is going to start at 11 o'clock. Now it says, which is very important for you to pay attention, what time does the 4th show end? Well, it starts at 11. So what time is it going to end? What time is it going to get over with? It would be another hour. So Miss Holler is going to be done with her 4th show at 12 o'clock. Okay, at 12 o'clock. So it's very, very, very important for you to pay attention to see what the question is asking. All right, let's look at our next one. Mrs. Vogel throws Mrs. Vogel throws a ball to her dog Penny every 30 minutes. She throws the ball to Penny 5 times, starting at 1 o'clock. What time does she throw the last ball to Penny? So remember, we're going to look to what we know. We know that Mrs. Vogel throws her ball to Penny every 30 minutes. And she throws the ball to Penny 5 times, starting at 1 o'clock. What do we need to figure out now? We need to figure out what time does she throw the last ball to Penny. So her first ball she throws is at 1 o'clock. Whoa, that was a crazy one. That's her first ball. Here's her second one. Here's her third one. Here's her fourth one. And here's her fifth one. So what time would it be if we were going every 30 minutes? So if we went back here to our clock and we started at 1 o'clock, and if she threw it a half of an hour, what time does this clock say? If you said 1:30, you're right. So she throws Penny the ball at 1:30, and another 30 minutes. Let's take the clock another half an hour. Now what time is it? It's 2 o'clock. So now she's thrown the ball to Penny 3 times. Now her fourth time that she throws it to Penny, we have to go another half hour. So I'm going to take my minute hand and I'm going to go another half hour. What time does this clock say? If you said 2:30, you are right. So here's 2:30. Remember, I use those little dots to separate between the hour and the minutes. All right, our last one. The last time Mrs. Vogel is going to throw the ball to Penny, we have to go one more half hour. What time does that time say? If you said 3 o'clock, you are right. Good work. So 3 o'clock is the time that she throws the last ball to Penny. All right, we have one more problem to do, and it says Mrs. Hintz loves to read books. I know she does, that's for sure. She reads 3 books today. It takes her 2 hours to read each book. She starts reading at 8:30. What time does she start reading her third book? So let's highlight what we know. Mrs. Hintz loves to read books. She reads 3 of them today. It takes her 2 hours to read each book, and she starts to read at 8:30. What do we need to know? We need to know what time does she start reading her third book. So her first book, she starts at 8:30. Oh, she's going to read. So her second book, it's going to take her 2 hours. Let's go to our clock to help us. So we're moving to 8:30. I'll make my clock go to 8:30. There's 8 o'clock, and then I go half more. 8:30. I have to go 2 hours. Ready? There's 1 hour. There's 2 hours. What time is it now? If you said 10:30, you are correct. So we're going to put 10:30 right here. Now we need to do one more book for Mrs. Hintz. So we're at 10:30. Now we need to go 2 more hours. Remember, the minute hand has to go all the way around in order for it to be an hour. 2 hours. What time does this clock say? What hour are we in? And then it's pointing to 30. If you said 12:30, you are correct. So our answer is 12:30. I think now you are ready to take your test. So, your quiz. So, go to page 611, give it a try. If you need any help, go ahead and ask anyone who's with you. And I think you're going to do great work. Good luck, boys and girls.